regular meeting of the Wheeling Plan Commission for Wednesday, December 2nd, 2020. Please do what you can to join us in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Secretary, could you please call the roll?
Yes. Commissioner Villanova.
I'm here.
Commissioner Berkey.
Not here yet.
Okay, Commissioner Sprague is here. Commissioner Yednak.
Present.
Commissioner Thompson is absent with previous notice. Chairman Johnson.
Here. Thank
We
you.
have four at the moment.
Ms. Nyes, any changes to this evening's agenda?
No changes.
All right. Citizens' concerns and comments. Do we have anything that's not related to any of the dockets?
Yeah, we're going to play the recording that we received on our message system.
Okay, it's not related to,
Well, it comes in under the citizens' concerns. Mallory, is that correct?
Yes, because they submitted it as a voicemail. Those are done under citizens' concerns.
okay. So what,
I think Sam's going to play it, I'm assuming. I don't think I'm.
Hi, I'm a citizen, and I'm a Buffalo Grove district, actually. And regarding the implementation of a marijuana distribution center for recreational purposes, I really feel strongly against this just because I don't think it would be good for our community. I think our community is very much like the property, the real estate value of this town is based on the fact that we're a very family-friendly area, and I feel like putting something such as this marijuana distribution center would completely would not be an incentive for future families to come in, and we don't want real estate value to go down in this area. We want our families safe. We want kids safe. So I would just like to voice my opinion that I am really hoping that this marijuana distribution center is really reconsidered, because I just don't think it would be something that would help our community. Thank you very much. That's all. Thank you.
did we get a name on that one?
I just have a first name.
Okay. Was that the only one?
Yes.
Okay. So moving on to consent items. Docket number SCBA 20-24, Midas at 1044 South Milwaukee Avenue for a replacement of, permit the installation of 2 new wall signs, replacement of awning color, and a new double-sided sign to an existing pylon sign. And docket number SCBA 20-32, the Emerson Group at 222 East Dundee Road for 1 monument sign in accordance with the sign plans prepared and distributed to the Plan Commission. Do I have a motion? We have a motion from Commissioner Yednak. Looking for a second? I believe Commissioner Sprague was seconding.
Yes.
Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Yednak.
Yes.
Commissioner Sprague is a yes. Commissioner Villanova.
Yes.
Commissioner Berkey. Is he on?
I do not see him yet.
Okay. Chairman Johnson,
Yes.
4 yeses.
All right. Items for review. The first item, who else joined? First item for review is general approval for rules and procedures for Plan Commission virtual public hearings. Since we're back to being virtual, we need to adopt some rules to follow. Are we going to read the whole thing?
No, but I can give a summary.
Okay, great.
So it's very similar to the rules and procedures already adopted by the village by the Plan Commission that kind of details when the different interested party groups of people who can participate in public hearings. This lays out a procedure trying to allow for knowing that the unique challenges of technology. So it reminds everyone that when you're not speaking to please be muted. It lays out the procedure that the petitioner will go first, then we'll go to anyone who happens to be in the building, and then we'll go to anyone who has logged on to participate via WebEx or whatever remote platform we're using. The chair will read out prior to that specifically how you can indicate that you are wanting to speak during the public hearing through raising your hand function. And then there are 3 types of participation in a public hearing: asking questions of the petitioner, providing your own evidence and or testimony, or just providing general comments or concerns. So you need to indicate which you are doing. All parties will go, all audience members will go first, and then the petitioner will have the ability to answer those questions and provide any rebuttal evidence, and then that can go back and forth if there's follow-up questions based on that. And then finally, after that's all done, it will turn over to the commissioners for questions. So that's kind of a summary of everything with the public hearing. The virtual is mainly the raising of the hand and the kind of the indicating what bucket of of participation you are in.
Thank you. So I need a motion to approve these rules from the Plan Commission.
So moved.
Second, I didn't know if you wanted to ask if there were any questions. I have no questions, but I didn't know if we needed to do that first. But I second the motion.
Okay.
Commissioner Sprague is a yes. Commissioner Yednak? Was that a yes?
Yes.
Commissioner Belanova?
Yes.
Commissioner Berkey, are we here?
I do see his name on the screen now. I don't see a video. There he is.
Oh.
He's muted right now. There you go. Oh, okay. You're not muted now. Go ahead.
Okay. Commissioner Berkey, were you present for the presentation on the rules?
No, I was trying to fiddle around with the, sorry about that, with the app.
No, it's okay. We'll move on. Chairman Johnson?
Yes.
That's 4 yes.
All right. Next up is docket 2020-16A and B. Variations to reduce the minimum required green space. Minimum required green space requirements from 25% to 21%, and to reduce the required parking for the new parking lot from 52 spaces to 38 spaces for 120 West Palatine Road. The petitioner is here, I presume?
Yes, good evening. My name is Jeff Klingel. I'm with Richelieu Foods.
Okay, I will need to swear you in, so please raise your right hand. Do you swear the testimony you're giving tonight to be the truth?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Mr. Klingel, please present your story.
Yes, Marcy had a presentation that she had sent. I don't know if that's available for the group to view at this moment, or I can share that on my screen if that's an alternative.
I'm not sure.
If not, I can speak to it, Marcy.
Why don't you go ahead and speak to it, and we'll see if it's a toggle.
If I hit the share content button down at the bottom, is it possible for me to share my screen?
Hang on.
Okay.
Oh, wait.
You just need to tell us next slide, and we'll move it ahead for you.
Okay. Do I see it somewhere on the screen, or do you guys see it?
You should see it on the host picture.
I'm sorry, I'm not seeing it at the moment on my screen. Okay, I see the small host picture,
Yeah.
yes. Okay.
Of the wet parking lot.
Okay, and you guys can see it okay on your end?
Yes.
All right, very good. Well, first of all, I wanted to thank the Planning Commission for listening to our story again of frozen pizza in Wheeling, Illinois. We are here today to discuss an addition that we would like to build in Wheeling to continue to grow our pizza operation at 120 West Palatine. So the screenshot that you see right now is of an existing parking lot. It's a view that is looking east in our current parking lot. So next slide, please. Okay, these are just some other shots of the property. What I'm going to do is look at the screen that I have as well. So other shots of the property, this again is the entrance coming into the property. You can see the existing Richelieu Food sign. Again, another view that is actually looking east on the property. Next slide, please. Going to see if I can enlarge this at all on my screen. Doesn't look like I can. What you're seeing right now is a site aerial view of the proposed expansion at 120 West Palatine, and it's really made up of two different sections. So the dark outline that you see in the upper portion of the aerial view is an approximately 26,000 square foot addition that we would like to build onto the property to add additional production capacity to the facility in Wheeling. So that's actual production space down there. Down below in the lower section of the aerial view, you'll see the proposed new parking lot that we would like to build to accommodate the new employees that will be operating the new production facility. So before I go to the next view, is there any questions about the overall site aerial proposal?
Not at this point.
Okay. Next slide, please. Okay. Jumping down here to my next slide. So this is just a more detailed view of the plans that we have for 120 West Palatine. And what it shows again is the existing structure that is already there, the existing one-story masonry structure, which is Richelieu Foods processing plant. And then again, up in the upper section of the drawing, the proposed 26,000 square foot addition, where we would be putting in new production equipment to produce frozen pizza. And then down at the very lower corner of that overview is the new employee parking lot. So in order to be able to build this expansion on the existing property that we have, one of the first variances that we are requesting is the green space variance that we need to put both the parking space into the building, into the lot, and then the 26,000 square foot addition. So that does require a green space reduction, and we're seeking that variance from the village. While we're on this view, it's probably good also to talk about the parking lot that we want to put in. So that new parking lot down there has a total of 38 spaces. The current village ordinances for that size of building that we're adding, that 26,000 square foot, would suggest that we need a total of 52 parking spaces. But when we looked at the number of people that we'll be adding, this is a fairly automated processing line for producing frozen pizzas. We will only be adding 25 people to the facility. So we'll actually have, an additional 13 extra spaces, even though we're not putting in the required 52. And this is really the only space that we have on the property where we can add the new parking lot. So we felt with the addition of only 25 new employees that adding 38 new spaces was a reasonable ask. So that is the second variance request that you would grant us to be able to put this addition onto the building. So I'll pause there for just a minute and see if there's any questions about these two variances that we are requesting.
That's a good place to stop, because we'll go through and review it just on the variances first. First of all, are there any members of the public that are here to speak on this?
You did describe how they participate.
Well, okay. Before I open the hearing to the audience, I have the following remarks and instructions for persons attending this hearing virtually. All persons in attendance will be given an opportunity to ask questions, make comments regarding this matter. When I ask whether members of the public wish to ask questions or to make comments, those individuals who wish to do so must follow the following procedure. If you are participating via computer, at the bottom right of the screen on your computer will be a menu with a tab labeled Participants. If the menu cannot be seen by moving your cursor to the bottom of the Zoom screen, the menu will appear. By clicking on the Participants tab, a window will open. You can find your name and move your cursor over your name and click on the hand icon that says Raise Hand. If you are participating via cell phone, in the upper left-hand corner is an image of a person with 3 lines. Click on that image and then select Participants. Then on the right-hand corner of your screen will be an icon of a hand, and you can click to raise hand. If you have dialed in on your phone, you can raise your hand by pressing *3. By clicking on the raise hand icon, you will signal to the chair that you have a question. Village Attorney Maluzzi will acknowledge individuals with a question in order, and when you are acknowledged, please unmute yourself, be sworn in, and then state your name, address, and identify whether you are asking questions, providing evidence or testimony, or providing general comments or concerns. As a reminder, if you are not speaking, please keep yourself muted. That being said, is there anybody from the public that wishes to comment or testify on the matter of the parking and green space variances?
I see no one with their hand raised.
Okay. Then I will go to the commissioners. Let's see, let's start with Commissioner Blanova. We can talk about both variances. We will have to vote on them separately when we're done. So go ahead.
On this one.
No question?
No, I see that the green space, it's only like 4%. It's almost meets the requirements, and the parking spaces look like, to me, that it will be sufficient.
Okay. Commissioner Sprague, you're next in my gallery here.
Yeah, before I get started, did you want me to read the public notice?
Oh, yes. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I'll do that now then.
Yes.
Okay. Docket number 2020-16A and B, Richie Lou Foods, leasee, is seeking the following variations from Title 19, zoning of the Wheeling Municipal Code, Chapter 19-07, Industrial Districts and associated sections for the property located at 120 West Palatine Road. 2020-16A is a variation to reduce the required green space from 25% to 21%, and 2020-16B is a variation to reduce the number of required off-street parking spaces from 52 spaces to 38 spaces. A zoning variation is intended to be a method of adjustment to equalize regulations where the zoning code has created an unnecessary hardship. A variation is designed to allow affected property owners the same rights and privileges that others enjoy in the same zoning district. In order to be granted a variation, a petitioner is required to demonstrate through testimony to the Plan Commission at a public hearing that the request meets the standards of the village code, including but not limited to how their individual situation is unique or unusual. Prior to the public hearing, the petitioner provides written statements meant to show that their request for variation meets the standards established in Title 19. The commission chairperson will typically direct that these statements be entered into the record without a full reading of them at the hearing. Based upon the testimony and supporting materials submitted, the Plan Commission will make findings in support of or against the petitioner's testimony and report those findings to the village board.
Thank you.
Okay, now, good evening, Jeff. My question is, I noticed in the northwest area of your property, there's approximately 33 spaces that aren't being used. Is that a everyday occurrence?
Those spaces were in the past occupied by trailers. We have since rented some additional off-site trailer storage right across the street from us. Those spaces do fill up. In fact, I actually park my car if I get into the office late in that far northwest parking lot area. So that's usually the last section that fills up because it's the farthest from the main door.
Right, I was just wondering if that was a everyday thing where those were like extra spaces or not, but evidently you do use them once in a while.
Yeah, we don't use 100% of them, Mike. There are, I would guess, anywhere between 15 to 20 spaces today that remain open, but that's usually the last section of the lot to get filled up.
Okay, that's really all I had on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you. Commissioner Yednick.
Mr. Chairman, on a side note, I was just curious who had to go out in the rain and take all the pictures. Seemed like every had pictures in the rain. Thank you, Mr. Klingel. One question I was curious, I'm wondering if there would be any consideration to maybe, and this is more to maybe Marcy and Don, to reducing the parking and bringing back some green space if you don't think that you need to have the 38 parking spots. But now after what Commissioner Sprague just asked, it sounds like those spots are going to fill because less people will be using the overflow lot then. I mean, what's the thought on trying to retain some of the green space?
Robert, would you like me to answer that, or was that directed at someone else?
Well, if I could make that suggestion or make that question, but I know that you're going to do some landscaping work, so
right.
in spite of losing some green space, you're still going to be doing some beautification. So that's a good point. But and then I don't know if the parking will allow you for future growth if necessary. I appreciate you guys are trying to stay in the village, so I don't know which would be a trade-off that Richelieu would prefer.
Honestly, I think what we would prefer, Robert, would be to add the spaces in. If we're going to excavate and put that parking lot in, we would rather have a couple of extra spaces that may allow for visitors from our corporate offices out in Massachusetts to be in the lot. So our thinking was, if we're going to excavate and put the lot in, and we also have to put in water detention as part of this project, that we would want to capture as many parking spaces as we could, and then recover the look of the property through some landscaping efforts.
Okay, yeah, I saw that you were doing the landscaping, and like Commissioner Blanova said, you're not reducing, it's only a 4% variance, so that's fine. That's the only thing that I had then, Mr. Chairman, just curious about the parking compared to the green space. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Berkey.
No questions. Thank you.
All right. Let's see, where are my questions? Mr. Klingel, you run 3 shifts now in there, or?
We run 2 shifts, so we run what's called an A shift and a B shift, so 2 10-hour shifts. And then because we are a USDA facility, we sanitize the facility every night, and that process takes about 4 hours. So it's roughly 20 hours of production and 4 hours of sanitation every day. And depending upon demand, we either run the operation 5 or 6 days.
Okay. And typically, it's about the same number of employees on each of the main shifts, not the cleaning shift?
Typically, yes, if there is a lighter shift, it'll be what we call the B shift. Usually first shift or A shift is full. We run all of our production lines. And if we do have any lighter demand, we usually don't call in the B shift or second shift crew.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from the commissioners at this point? All right, then I will ask for a motion on 2020-16A. Let's see, that's the green space one.
So move.
Second, I did a so moved. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, now we can.
Yep.
I'll speak louder.
Commissioner Sprague is a yes. Commissioner Yednak?
Yes.
Commissioner Belanova?
Yes.
Commissioner Berkey?
Yes.
Chairman Johnson?
Yes. And now a motion on 2020-16B for the parking variation.
Moved.
Second.
Commissioner Yednek, Commissioner Blanova.
Commissioner Yednak?
Yes.
Commissioner Belanova?
Yes.
Commissioner Berkey?
Yes.
Commissioner Sprague is a yes. Chairman Johnson?
Yes. And lastly, we need a motion to close 2020-16A and B. We can do that together?
Yes.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Roll call.
Commissioner Sprague is a yes. Commissioner Yednak?
Yes.
Commissioner Belanova?
Yes.
Commissioner Berkey?
Yes.
Chairman Johnson?
Yes. All right, now moving on to docket PC 20-21, which is the major site plan and appearance review for 120 Palatine Road. Ms. Nyes, anything on this one?
Yeah, I wanted to mention that this is going for a major site plan and appearance review. And the zoning code requires that additions to an existing principal structure have a concept review by the village board before being reviewed at the plan commission. The board concept review occurred on March 16th, 2020, and viewed the project favorably. As a result, the petitioner is requesting major site plan and appearance review, which requires a recommendation from the plan commission and final approval by the village board. In addition, the applicant is requesting approval from the Plan Commission to waive the requirement to install an irrigation system. So I think we have to vote on those two separately.
I'm sorry, clarify.
So one is to approve the major site plan and appearance, and then we also have to vote to waive the requirement to install the irrigation system.
Oh, right, okay. All right, Mr. Klingel, if you'd like to go further into the site plan or appearance part of this?
Sure. Before I have Marcy turn the page, were there any questions on sort of the overview of the site itself? If not, we can go to page 6, Marcy. If you could turn the page.
Next slide, there you go.
Yeah, it's not me.
Okay. It moves a little slow. So I'm just looking at the identical thing on the PowerPoint slide that I have. So different elevations. And I think the one thing that as we go through these, I'd just like to impress upon the village board is we have worked with an architect to keep the same look of the building after the building expansion is built. So by that I mean it will be constructed of basically the same colors, the insulated metal panel construction with the bottom band of brick. So it will be a very uniform addition. It won't look different from the existing building structure. We've done our best to match gutter colors, scupper colors, the color of the IMP panels, so it blends in, and it's a very aesthetic building addition. It won't look like a building addition once it's complete. It will look like the existing building. So there's several different slides here that were prepared by the village with different elevations. So a north elevation on the east side, what it currently looks like in the picture, and then what it will look like on the east side in the future. Again, you can just envision that wall extending towards you in the picture. It will have the same look, feel, color as the existing building. And that's true for the entire structure. That was the direction and guidance that we gave the architects when they were doing the design work for this building to make it blend in with the existing structure. So any questions on those elevations shown on page 6?
No, you can continue.
Okay, turn the page, please. Okay, page 7. Again, similar elevations. What you will see here is that we are proposing to add 3 additional dock doors. And the reason that those dock doors are being added there is truck traffic is going to move from the east side of the building to the north side of the building. What we're doing with this addition is instead of taking the pizza crusts that we're buying on the outside today and trucking into the building, we're actually producing those pizza crusts in the addition that we just completed that was approved by the village that was known as the White Eagle expansion. So a lot of the truck traffic that would be coming into the east side dock will now go away because we won't be bringing raw crust into the building. We'll be producing them, and out of the north side of the building where these new truck docks are, will be coming finished goods for shipment into off-site frozen storage. So just a different flow of the truck traffic. About the same amount of trucks. We estimate maybe 6 to 8 more total per day, but we're moving away from all of the crust coming into the building and just going to be trucking out the finished goods out on these new loading docks. So that's the elevation, north elevation looking west. Any question on this page?
No, continue on through and we can always go back to them if we need to.
Okay, next slide, please, page 8. Again, we're going to be extending the building towards the west. That concrete driveway that you see there will remain, but there'll be a building structure that will come up to that concrete driveway. That driveway is needed for fire lane access and also for a truck that brings flour to the bakery where we produce our pizza crust today. So, but the new building will come out to the west, and that's what these elevations are showing you. Slide 9, please. Again, just showing the construction. What I want to emphasize is common insulated metal panel, lower brick facade to match the existing structure. So it will look very uniform to the base building. Next slide, please. That's just a full overview, a look of how the roof line will appear once the new building is constructed. So we just tried to give you a large linear view of what things will look like. Next slide, please. Slide 11, this is the final slide in the deck. This is where we're showing the proposed landscaping and the addition of the trees to beautify the property after the construction has been completed, both on the north side where the new building is going to be installed and on the south side where the new parking lot will be. So we are adding back a lot of trees and shrubs to make the property look decent after the construction. And that is the end of the presentation.
All right. This one we can go right to the commission on, right?
Correct.
All right. Commissioner Yednick.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Kligel, I don't know if you can answer this one. I should have asked last time. What are the branded pizzas that you guys make so I can try a hometown pizza after? Or is that you brand a lot of different ones?
So all we do is what's called private brands. So we make for all the major grocers, Sam's Club, Walmart, Aldi, Albertson, Kroger. So we don't have a Richelieu Foods brand. It's all been done under private brand from the actual grocers that we sell to.
Gotcha. I used to work for Kleenex, so I'm familiar with the store brands for the product.
There you go.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I really don't have any questions. I know you guys take good care of the property, and like we talked about earlier, you can do a lot of landscaping improvements, so it looks good to me. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Blanova.
Yeah, I had a little concern on irrigation, but I see you taking care of your property, so I don't think it would be a problem. Then there is nothing to say. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Commissioner Sprague.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A question about that irrigation. I'm surprised with all the new landscaping that you're going to put in that you don't want to have irrigation for all that. Is there a reason why you don't want to other than cost?
Mike, we were concerned about just putting irrigation into the new areas, and then those areas would be perhaps more green than areas where we didn't have the irrigation system. We do a pretty good job today with our landscaping company of making sure that the bushes and the shrubbery get watered. So we just wanted a more uniform look, and we're concerned that we would end up with one section of lawn that would be much greener, and it wouldn't blend in with the rest of the lawn and the surrounding areas. So that's really the reason why we asked for that deviation.
Okay, thank you. My other question is kind of directed towards the fire department, but I don't know if there's anyone here from there.
No.
Not here.
I was just wondering if there is it acceptable access to the silos for the fire department.
Yep, the fire department did review the plans and did not have any concerns with the proposal.
Okay. All right. That's all I have then. Thank you.
Commissioner Berkey.
I have no questions. Thank you.
Okay. The only comment I have is while you're doing this construction and beautifying the front, the rooftop unit that is on the south end of the roof really needs to get some paint on it or something. It's looking pretty ratty. So if you can fit that into your budget somewhere?
I will commit to doing that, yes.
And, you know, obviously not right now, but say by July 1st or something, can we ask for that, or prior to completion of their addition?
I will absolutely commit to that as soon as we get some warm weather and we can get up there
Sure.
and properly paint it.
So,
Did you want that as a condition?
yeah, I would. And I guess I have no problem with the waiver on the sprinkler system either. Any other questions from the commissioners while Marcy's typing in the conditions? Okay.
Okay, the rooftop unit on the south end of the roof shall be painted to match the building by July 1st, 2021.
That's the only condition we have on it? All right, then with that condition, do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Yednak, Commissioner Blanova.
Commissioner Yednak,
Yes.
Commissioner Blanova,
Yes.
Commissioner Berkey,
Yes.
Commissioner Sprague is a yes. Chairman Johnson.
Yes.
And a motion to waive the irrigation?
Oh, and then we need a motion to waive the irrigation requirement?
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Yednak,
Yes.
Commissioner Blanova,
Yes.
Commissioner Berkey. Was that a yes?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Sprague is a yes. Chairman Johnson.
Yes. All right, I presume Marcy will be in touch with Mr. Klingel and,
Yes, I'll follow up with you tomorrow.
I'd like to thank everyone for your understanding, your cooperation, and your continued willingness to work with Richelieu Foods to grow our business in the village. So thank you all.
glad to hear you're still growing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
All right, next up. Next up, we have docket 2020-33, text amendment to allow adult use cannabis dispensary in the B1 Planned Shopping Center zoning district.
Commissioner Sprague can read the introduction.
Commissioner Sprague, read the intro on that one.
Yes, sir. Docket number 2020-33. The Village of Wheeling is seeking text amendments to Title 19 zoning of the Wheeling Municipal Code, Chapter 19, zoning, Chapter 19.10, use regulations, Appendix A, use table and associated sections in order to modify zoning regulation to permit a adult use cannabis dispensaries in the B1 Planned Shopping Center zoning district. The text amendment is an amendment to the map and or text of the zoning ordinance, which affects the whole village. In order to be considered for a text amendment, the petitioner is required to demonstrate through testimony to the Plan Commission at a public hearing that the request meets the standards of the village code, including but not limited to how the proposed text amendment is compatible with Title 19 and the comprehensive plan. Prior to the public hearing, the petitioner provides written statements meant to show that the request meets the standards for a text amendment as established in Title 19. The commission chairperson will typically direct that these statements be entered into the record without a full reading of them at the hearing. Based upon the testimony and supporting materials submitted, the Plan Commission will make findings in support of or against the petitioner's testimony and report those findings to the village board.
Thank you. Ms. Nyes, the Village of Wheeling is actually the petitioner on this, correct?
That is correct.
So, is anyone from the village?
Yes.
You?
Yeah.
Oh, then go ahead.
The Planning Division received a special use application from Mindfill, Illinois LLC, which is docket number 2020-34, to operate an adult-use cannabis dispensary at the former TGI Fridays restaurant located at 1500 Lake Cook Road. The former TGI Fridays site was selected in conjunction with the Economic Development Department. The former restaurant and surrounding commercial development is zoned B1 Planned Shopping Center District, which was not included as a permitted zoning district for dispensaries, since B1 zoning is traditionally intended for a small-scale neighborhood commercial uses. However, the Schwinn Crossing Center, Target, Walmart, and former Sam's Club are the only commercial developments within the B1 district and are developments uses typical of the B3 district. As a result, the petitioner, the Village of Wheeling Economic Development Department, is seeking a text amendment to permit cannabis dispensaries in the B1 zoning district. Economic Director Ainsworth is here not to discuss a specific user, but to discuss development trends for cannabis dispensaries, and Director Clicker is also here to answer any questions.
Thank you, Marcy. This is Director Ainsworth, Director of Economic Development. So as Marcy had mentioned, this is a regional shopping area in the Village of Wheeling, and the proposed text amendment will be in line with market trends of this land use. As a retail cannabis dispensary operator, they're typically looking for retail corridors and with other regional retail businesses on major thoroughfares. This portion of Wheeling meets these criteria. These trends are being witnessed all over the Chicagoland area, as retail dispensaries are locating on major thoroughfares near retail operations. For example, Woodfield Mall has a dispensary nearby. There's one near Fox Valley Mall in Aurora. There's another one on 75th Street that's merging in Naperville. The newer retail dispensaries are different than the medical-only dispensaries that were introduced a few years ago. And so the request is really to help the code match this retail market trend and this retail land use.
Thank you. Mr. Clicker, do you have anything to add?
Just to briefly add, as we've had our discussions and our joint workshops with the village board, the use table in general, we're going to be taking a deep dive into for the Village of Wheeling. We have noticed some deficiencies. We've brought a few of those forward with you already, such as restaurants being a permitted use now rather than a special use, and banks now being a special use rather than a permitted use. This is one of the uses we were going to be looking at when we did our deep dive, but as we alluded to in the initial statement from Marcy, this is being driven by an economic development recruiting effort, but it is something that we need to address. It really highlights the fact that our zoning, especially in the business districts, as we talked about in our joint workshop, is really almost reverse of what it should be. Textbook zoning is B1 is your most restrictive district, B2 is more neighborhood and commercial, and then your B3 would be your more regional draws. This B1 district is a regional draw, but it has the B1 zoning, which traditionally is the most restrictive, and it is our belief why the B3 or the adult use cannabis was not included in the text amendments when they were originally passed a few years ago regarding what districts they would be allowed in.
Thank you. All right, so we now would open it to any public comment, and this is strictly on the text amendment, nothing in particular to the petitioner that's in the next docket. So, again, if you're participating via computer, the bottom right screen, your computer will be a menu and a tab labeled participants. If the menu cannot be seen, move your cursor to the bottom of the Zoom screen, and the menu will appear. By clicking on the Participants tab, a window will open. You can find your name and move your cursor over your name and click on the hand icon to raise your hand. If you're participating via cell phone, in the upper left-hand corner is an image of a person with 3 lines. Click on that image and then select Participants. On the right-hand corner of your screen will be an icon of a hand you can click to raise your hand. If you have dialed in on your phone, you can raise your hand by pressing *3. And by clicking on the raise hand icon, you will signal to us that you have a question. Village Attorney Maluzzi will acknowledge individuals with a question in order, and when you are acknowledged, please unmute yourself, be sworn in, and then state your name, address, and identify whether you're asking questions, providing evidence or testimony, or providing general comments or concerns. As a reminder, if you are not speaking, please keep yourself muted. Mallory, do we have anybody?
I do not see anyone with their hands raised for this, and I would also note for the record that there's no one in person in the boardroom other than the three of us.
Okay. So then we can go directly to the commission.
Correct.
Let's start with Commissioner Berkey this time.
I guess I don't have any questions on that. My questions will be more for the next, yeah, I'm fine.
Okay. Commissioner Blanova.
Thank you. So it will be permitted as a special use.
Correct.
Do you have any other questions?
Okay, Commissioner Yednek.
Comment is along the same lines as Commissioner Blanova just made, and just to clarify, I guess, for the public and for myself, that as you've explained to us before, Mr. Clicker, that special use, it still will come before everyone, and I think Mallory's explained this to us before too, that every request would still come before and be evaluated on its own merits. So this doesn't mean that it's going to be automatically approved because we're adding it as a special use in the B1 district.
Correct.
Thank you. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Commissioner Sprague.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director Clicker, is there any other B1 areas in the village besides this? This is the only one.
Correct.
Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
And I had no questions myself.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman. I thought that Mallory said that like the old Sam's Club and stuff, those were B1. Or is it all encompassing?
All encompassing.
Oh, okay, so it's across the street. It's not just this one mall. Okay.
But I should note that with the state laws regarding cannabis dispensaries and their separations, the B1 district would only be able to have one dispensary in it.
What is that spacing offhand?
1,500 between dispensaries.
1,500, yep.
Which isn't really that much, but. All right, any other questions? Then I'll ask for a motion to approve the text amendment only at this point.
So moved.
Commissioner Yednek.
Yes.
Commissioner Blanova.
Yes.
Commissioner Berkey.
Yes.
Commissioner Sprague is a yes. Chairman Johnson.
Yes. And then we need a motion to close this particular public hearing on the text amendment.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Yednek.
Yes.
Commissioner Sprague is a yes. Commissioner Blanova.
Yes.
Commissioner Berkey.
Yes.
Chairman Johnson.
Yes. All right, moving on. Docket 2020-34, special use to operate an adult use cannabis dispensary at 1500 East Lake Cook Road. Commissioner Sprague, Secretary Sprague.
Is this for questions?
No, this is for reading the special use part.
Okay, got it. Docket number.
Reading tonight.
Yes. Docket number 2020-34. Mindful Illinois LLC DBA Hatch Dispensary Wheeling Leasee is seeking a special use as required under Title 19 zoning of the Wheeling Municipal Code, Chapter 19-10.060, non-residential use regulations and associated sections in order to permit an adult cannabis dispensary in the B1 planned shopping center zoning district for the property located at 1500 East Lake Cook Road. A Special use, as defined in the zoning code, is a use of parcel of land that requires review and consideration before approval due to the potential for negative impacts on surrounding properties. In order to be considered for a special use, the petitioner is required to demonstrate through testimony to the Plan Commission at a public hearing that their request meets the standards and the village code, including but not limited to how the proposed use will not damage the enjoyment or use of the surrounding properties. Prior to the public hearing, the petitioner provides written statements meant to show that the request meets the standards for special use as established in Title 19. The commission chairperson will typically direct that these statements be entered into the record without a full reading of them at the hearing. Based upon the testimony and supporting materials submitted, the Plan Commission will make findings in support of or against the petitioner's testimony and report those findings to the village board.
Thank you. Ms. Nyes, anything?
Yes, so the petitioner again is requesting a special use to operate an adult use cannabis dispensary at 1500 East Lake Cook Road. The petitioner has indicated that external changes to the building are planned, but they are not part of this application at this time. The petitioner has been informed and is aware that any exterior building facade changes must be presented and approved by the Plan Commission before any permits can be issued for such work. The plan is to occupy an existing building, and they do plan to return for any exterior modifications. Any interior build-out will need to be reviewed and approved by the village's police department and also the Illinois Department of Financial and Professional Regulation. They are the ones that regulate the cannabis licenses. We do recommend one condition, that prior to the issuance of permits for any changes to the exterior building facade, an application for building appearance review shall be submitted for Plan Commission review.
Thank you. And I presume our petitioner is here. Mr. Leff, is that you?
Yep.
All right. Please raise your right hand. You swear the testimony you're giving tonight to be the truth?
Yes, I do.
And then state your name and business address for the record.
Gary Leff, Mindful, Illinois, LLC, 1433 Fullerton Avenue, Addison, Illinois.
Thank you. Is anyone else from Mindful going to talk tonight?
Yep. I have with me Sam Smith, General Manager of our Addison location, Taylor Clark, our Compliance and Inventory Manager in Addison. I also have Dwayne McEwen and Jeremy Leach from DMAC Architecture. And I believe, in case we need it, we have property ownership here, Dave LeClavalier and Josh Lepin from Forefront Properties.
All right. Well, as you know, it's a public hearing, so anyone that does come up to speak will have to get sworn in.
Yeah.
But go ahead with your presentation, and we'll go from there.
All right, terrific. And I want to thank the Plan Commission for giving us the opportunity to present this evening. Can we move, please, to background slide? I want to give you some quick background on our company. Nope. Yep. Great. Thanks. Back in 2015, we were awarded one of the original Illinois medical licenses under the Compassionate Use of Medical Cannabis Program Act. And we opened our medical cannabis dispensing organization in Addison, Illinois in 2016 under the name Mindful. With a strong focus on patient care and service, we ranked in the top 20% of all medical dispensaries for the last time the data was publicly available in 2019. We just recently launched adult use sales in August 2020 and are in the process of rebranding from Mindful to Hatch due to a potential trademark issue with another cannabis group in Colorado. We're locally owned and operated with decades of retail and hospitality experience in our team, and we're very passionate about creating amazing retail and hospitality experiences. Next slide, please. Are you waving to me? Someone? You're muted.
This is one of the commissioners. I'm just trying to ask the village from a technical perspective. Yeah, that's what I was going to ask, if we could see the slides, because I think when Mr. Leff starts speaking, he takes control of video. We weren't provided these slides in our packets, so I can't read a tiny thumbnail.
Yeah.
Can we keep the slides up somehow?
That I don't know.
That might be due to your layout on the screen.
I changed the layout. No, I changed it where I have the large image of the active speaker, but like I say, the slides will come up, and then when Mr. Left starts speaking, he takes over. It's showing now. Let's see what happens. That's all.
I think you can lock the screen. I think there is an ability to lock on the upper. You should have been able to control the clock.
Training on that for the next meeting. Sorry, Mr. Left interrupted.
That's okay.
I think
I
that
had the
if,
same. I was wondering the same thing on the previous presentation, so I see it now. Okay. So collectively, we have over 40 years of experience in creating premium brands in the restaurant, retail, and hospitality space, and we have an intense passion for creating best-in-class guest experiences. Additionally, we have significant cannabis experience. Our CEO, Andrew Rashkow, who couldn't be with us tonight, he's founded several leading cannabis companies focused on the science of cannabis, as well as creating and developing leading cannabis branded products. Next slide, please. We've engaged DMAC Architecture for this project. DMAC is an award-winning creative design studio with over 25 years of experience in developing and designing top-tier restaurant, hospitality, gaming, and leisure brands. We're very excited to partner with DMAC on this project to deliver an upscale, forward-thinking dispensary experience at this location in Wheeling. Next slide, please. Here's just a small sampling of some of the Chicago area projects that DMAC has recently completed, including Greenwood Restaurant in Highwood, which is at the top. And at the bottom is the new Midtown Athletic Club and Hotel in Chicago. These renderings are indicative of the level of quality and sophistication that we intend to achieve for the dispensary in Wheeling. Next slide, please. Our goal in Wheeling is to create the premier adult use dispensary experience in Illinois. In addition to the forward-thinking design I just addressed, other key attributes of the Hatching experience include knowledgeable and friendly service. Our passion and focus from inception has always been on taking care of patients and finding the best products to address products to address any specific issues or conditions they may have. Almost all of our employees are patients themselves, and they all share an intense passion around helping our guests find quick and effective release. We believe adult use customers want access to the same level of service and product discovery, and it's our goal to deliver the same level of customer care and service that we've become accustomed to delivering at our Addison location. Another important component to the experience is warm and generous hospitality. It runs deep in our blood, and we believe it's an important part of delivering an engaging experience in today's retail environment. We also believe it's important to have a broad product selection to address the many different needs, form factors, and prices that our guests are seeking. We intend to have one of the largest vaults and product selections in the state, offering a wide variety of packaged cannabis products, including flower, concentrates, edibles, tinctures, capsules, topicals, beverages, and many other products. We also believe in technology and are constantly investing in best-in-class technology to enhance product discovery and learning, mobile ordering and pickup, and overall service quality and transaction times. And finally, given the rapid transition to online ordering that's taken place around us, guests have come to expect online ordering across all retail categories, and we're focused on efficient online ordering and pickup. In Addison today, our online business accounts for roughly 40% of all orders. Next slide, please. This is a rendering of our planned renovations to the exterior of the current TGI Fridays building. As Marcy indicated, we are not in for approval on this. Should the special use be approved, we will, of course, have to appear before the Plan Commission again for building appearance, signage, and plan review. Next slide. This is the site survey. Our location, the former Fridays building, is the freestanding building that's at the southeast corner of the development. Thank you. Next slide. This is the site plan for the building. Next slide. Great. This is the proposed floor plan. And we are going to do a complete demo, or we're planning to do a complete demo of the interior of this building and rebuild it. So it's a significant project. This is the proposed floor plan. As you can see, the shaded area in the back is a restricted area with access only for employees and vendors that have been licensed by the state. Deliveries come in through the back dock, and they'll be loaded directly into the secure product vault, which is in the back of house restricted area. Guests will enter from the front, obviously, into a vestibule. Both doors are locked and are controlled by a key card with a security guard there, so no one can enter unless they are ID'd. And once they are ID'd, we swipe them in for entry. We'll have up to 10 point-of-sale stations to service guest transactions, allowing for a seamless guest experience with quick and efficient throughput. Next slide. In the event that social distancing requirements are still in place once we open, which we all hope that isn't the case, our plan gives us the ability to queue over 30 guests inside the space, which we believe is more than sufficient to handle peak loads. Next slide. Over the past 4 years, we've developed a strong support infrastructure, training, and systems to ensure a smooth and seamless operation that is 100% compliant with state law and regulations. Just take you through some of the key operating points. Our proposed operating hours are 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., 7 days a week. The state allows us to operate from 6 to 10, but we're operating inside that window, and we think these are sufficient hours. There will be no unpackaged cannabis product in the store. Again, that's per an IDFPR, or actually per the state legislation. No cannabis consumption on premises. You must be 21 years or older to enter the premises. As I said previously, 40% of our transactions are ordered online, and this significantly reduces transaction times, throughput, and parking. We expect that to grow over time. We've seen significant growth this year. All cannabis products are stored in a secured vault. Deliveries of cannabis occur away from public areas at prearranged times known to the Illinois Department of Agriculture, and cash is stored in safes and moved to our bank via armored car service. Next slide. Please. Great. The safety and security of our customers, staff, and the community at large is our number one priority. And these are some of the actions we practice at our current store in Addison that we also plan to implement at this location in Wheeling. We'll have over 40 interior and exterior cameras with 100% overlap and cloud streaming. Exterior cameras capture every exterior wall with multiple angles. Law enforcement and regulators will have 24/7 online access to this video. There will be at least one licensed security guard on site during all operating hours. We are required to contract with a licensed security firm to provide that on-site security guard. We have state-of-the-art access control systems, including door alarms, glass break, motion sensors, secure delivery and storage of cannabis protocols in accordance with state regulations, manually secured safes for storage of cash with armored car pickup, restricted access areas as I referred to earlier, and all employees undergo background checks. Next slide, please. Nope, one more. All right. And finally, we engaged Walker Consultants a national parking planning and design firm to perform a parking needs analysis for this location. Utilizing historical visitation and duration of stay information from our Addison location and doubling peak traffic to be conservative, while also accounting for other uses at the center, Walker concluded that there's more than sufficient parking to handle peak demand at the center. We anticipate a total peak demand of 179 spaces for all tenants in the center versus 216 total available spaces. And we do not anticipate needing to use any overflow parking at the adjacent Target lot. Furthermore, we believe our use will generate significantly less traffic and significantly faster transaction times than the former restaurant use, which by code required 3 times as many parking spaces. So in conclusion, we believe this is a great site for an adult use dispensary, and we're very excited to become part of the Wheeling business community. Thank you, and I'll turn it over for questions.
Thank you. All right, I don't know that we've had any change of people watching, so I'm not going to read that thing again.
Correct. They just need to.
So if you want to speak on any of this, please raise your hand.
I am not seeing any hands raised.
And again, there is nobody here in person, just for the record. Commissioner Yednick, we'll get to the commission soon.
This is a question about the public comment. I know we received an email today. Do we need to read that into the record? I was going to comment on that email if that's part of the public comment.
That's going to be read into the record. We were just making sure that individual wasn't present to give live comment.
Yeah, she was going to try and be part of the meeting, in
So yes.
which case we wouldn't have had to read it. But go ahead, Marcy.
Okay. Hi, Marcy. Thank you for getting back to me. I'm trying to get ready for tonight's meeting, but I don't understand if I will be able to ask questions during the meeting, so I'm including them in this letter just so I can make sure they are addressed. My family has lived at, I'll leave the address out, Buffalo Grove, Illinois for 28 years. We are very involved in the meetings when Target was planning on developing the land involved in this proposed development. We organized a neighborhood committee that attended the Village of Wheeling's meetings. We even got our village president and some board of trustees to attend. Some of the major concerns were traffic, noise, pollution, light pollution, and smell pollution from garbage and restaurants. The Village Plan Commission and representatives of Target were very willing to work with us and resolve all concerns we had. A higher berm was built to prevent trash from blowing into our yards, as well as helping minimize the noise problems since there are families with young children in our area. They also agreed to put special shields up on the lights to reduce the nighttime glare in our homes and bedrooms so people could sleep. They also agreed to, which the Village of Buffalo Grove president and manager insisted upon, limit the entrance and exit on Wyland Road from the center. While people intentionally broke the law and made illegal turns into and out of that area onto Wyland Road, it has provided a safety net for those of us who use the intersection of Armstrong Drive and Wyland Road on both the east and west sides of the street, the nursing home and apartments on the west, and single-family homes on the east. I do not know how or who authorized the entrance-exit way from that development, but that is putting many of us at risk for more accidents. People are used to a left turn only being at Lake Cook Road and not into the center. People also have to continue to be able to make left turns into the nursing home and apartments on the west side of Wyland Road. There are now going to be 3 areas where people can make turns, all within very condensed distance of less than 1 block. This is going to cause major traffic dangers for all. Who authorized that change? Why was it not kept the way it was agreed upon in those original meetings? Why weren't we notified of a major change in traffic flow that will make it even more difficult for Buffalo Grove residents living in that immediate area? That change should never have been allowed. Since that has been altered, we are very concerned about not only affected drivers from Binny's, but also now from this proposed cannabis dispensary. We are also concerned about the ease which people can access that center to get to not only a liquor store, but also a cannabis store. The whole idea was to make people drive to the light on Lake Cook Road to enter the shopping center to decrease the danger on Wyland Road. Another issue is the proposed hours of operation of 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. 7 days a week. The 9 a.m. is acceptable so long as they agree to keep it at that starting time and not move it earlier to any time between 6 a.m. and 9 a.m. Also, the owners must agree to closing it at 8:30 p.m. on Sunday through Thursday and 9 p.m. on Friday and Saturday, even though the state allows longer hours of operation. 6 months after it opens, we don't want to find out a change in the hours of operation have changed, like we have been surprised by the change in the Wyland Road entrance. We have children that need to sleep and who have to travel to and from schools. Stevenson High School, St. Mary's School, Aptekissick Junior High School, and Pritchett Elementary School, all by way of Armstrong Drive. We cannot have an additional traffic danger of people trying to also get into the center from Wyland Road to get to a cannabis store, no matter if the state allows longer business hours or not. The other concerns we have about the store going into that specific center are the issues of crime and lower property values for our Buffalo Grove homes. Even though the state regulates the minimum age to buy cannabis is 21 years old, common sense and past experience with other restricted stores have proven teenagers will try buying or stealing liquor and cigarettes. Now you have a cannabis dispensary and we are concerned about increased crime for drugs that can be resold on the street. While it is a Wheeling business, it is surrounded by Buffalo Grove residents who are concerned about crime spilling over to our neighborhoods. Unlike Mindful's other location in Addison, Illinois, which is hidden in an industrial park across from a moving company on a business-oriented street, the location of this proposed dispensary is front and center in one of the busiest, dangerous trafficked areas connecting Wheeling and Buffalo Grove. I'm not suggesting preventing the company from building in your village, but it should be built in an industrial park away from high traffic congestion areas that are surrounded by residential homes of a different village. Why not build it on a street that butts up against Wheeling family homes and in a prominent area like Elmhurst and Dundee shopping centers where Kmart used to be or where Aldi is? There's plenty of space there that does not affect the safety of Buffalo Grove families. Moving the location to a different shopping center would alleviate all of the problems identified. There would not be increased traffic in a very small area between Lake Cook Road and Armstrong Drive on Wyland Road. There would not be concern for the children and families that surround the shopping center with regards to crime, luring of teenagers to want to buy or steal drugs, increase in car and school bus accidents. I understand we are Buffalo Grove residents who really don't have any say what happens, but as someone who spearheaded the citizens concerned with the original development of that land, we know past Village of Wheeling leaders did take our concerns seriously, and everyone was happy with the target development once the restrictions, lights, traffic noise, and entrance and exit were worked out. We hope you understand our concerns and where the cannabis dispensary is proposed, not if Wheeling should have or reject having such a business in your village. The location is the main problem. Having them open up their dispensary elsewhere away from residential areas that are not your own citizens. I would really like to know who authorized the change in the entrance exit onto Wyland Road because that will increase the dangers to the people who live around your shopping center. Take the time and review those minutes from all of the meetings involving the development of that center for Target. You will see a huge concern was the dangers created if that area was not restricted. As I said, I don't know if I will be allowed to ask questions or voice our concerns, so I'm sending them to you in advance. I hope to be able to sign on to watch the meeting, but I am admittedly limited in my technologies. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Do we need to make any comments on that?
No, obviously the petitioner, I want to make a comment that the questions and comments about the access to and from Wyland Road aren't really part of this petition. It is only about the use, and the petitioner's not changing any access aspects, so it's really not relevant to this petition.
I wasn't aware there were any changes made from the original development.
I don't know. I know that this petitioner is not proposing any changes and did not have any involvement with that, so those aren't really relevant for discussion today. And then the petitioner can obviously address any other concerns or comments raised, and staff can chime in as necessary.
If I could just, Mallory, real quick, just though a lot of the petitioner or the questions of that email were concerning the Wyland Road access point. As the Lake Cook Road reconstruction project has been going on, which is an Illinois Department of Transportation project, they have been reworking that area. We did look at the official approved plan for this area. There is actually going to be a landscape median put down Wyland to actually make the right in, right out of the center even more prominent and restricted than what was there previously. With the construction, the right in, right out has been temporarily removed, and there has been some people coming in the opposite direction, so I can understand their concern, but that is temporary. And with when the road project is completed, the access on Wyland will even be further restricted than it was before.
Oh, thank you.
And I guess the only other comment on the crime concerns is that the police department has not raised any concerns about crime and has not heard of any increases from neighboring areas where there are dispensaries open.
Yes, and we know security is a top priority with any of these dispensaries. So, Mr. Neff, is there anyone else in your group that would like to talk before we go to the commissioners? Oh, you're muted.
No, thank you. We're good.
Okay. Then we'll move on to the commission. Commissioner Blanova.
Thank you. If you can please talk about, of course, there are a lot of residents, so they have a concern about smell. Will you have a specific facility inside? Is there anything, I don't know, like filtration or anything like that will be installed inside?
I'm sorry. I'm getting a lot of feedback. Can you restate that, please?
I'm talking about the smell.
The smell? Yeah. So all of our products are packaged and sealed, and there are no smells that emanate from the building whatsoever.
It shouldn't be a concern for residents.
No, absolutely not.
Well, that's all I have.
Okay. Commissioner Berkey.
So, question about the security. Are these security guards employees of Mindful, or are they third-party security?
They're third parties. Per the state regulations, we are required to have a licensed third-party security guard on site during all operating hours at the front of the building.
Okay. And then my other question, and this might be more geared towards staff or economic development, is do we have any data on what the effect has been in other municipalities who've had adult use dispensaries there, and as far as the property value? Crime doesn't sound like an issue, but property value is one thing I was curious about.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if there's been any specific studies on property value. What we can comment on is the quality of product that's or the appearance of the facilities that are being put out. I can, from viewing the recreational facilities that have recently opened, the users or the developers of these sites are building very high quality, highly aesthetic properties that, unless you know they're a cannabis dispensary, you wouldn't know they're a cannabis dispensary. So I don't foresee any negative impact on property values.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I had.
Commissioner Sprague.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, Gary.
Good evening.
My main concern is with the parking and traffic flow during your peak load times. Do you have any kind of a backup plan if by chance the parking lot would get pretty full? I have a concern with, I don't know if any of the businesses in that shopping center do, but filling up spots that the other retail businesses need for their business.
Yeah, I mean, we did hire, like I said, Walker Consulting to do a study on this, and they studied our traffic patterns in Addison, took peak times, doubled them to be conservative. And given that our average transaction time with waits are, roughly 5 minutes in and out of the store, we assumed a 15-minute turnaround time. We still had, an excess at peak, doubling our highest hours in Addison, an excess of 35 parking spaces, assuming typical usage at the other outlets. I do not think we will experience any more traffic than the Fridays. I used to be in the restaurant business, and with 200 seats at a Fridays, I think you have 2 to 3x the number of cars that would be in that parking lot. So we do not anticipate a problem with parking. We think there's more than ample parking.
And do you think you will, have you thought about talking to Target in case you would need any kind of backflow into like their lot?
We have not, and I may ask the property owners to comment on this, but I believe there's an easement and we can park in that lot if there was an issue of overflow parking, but I don't know, maybe someone can, Dave or Josh, or is that something maybe you can address if you're on? Maybe not.
This is Josh.
Hold on, we just need to be sworn in really quick,
right.
Mr. Lappins.
Well, I'm going to assume your right hand is raised and you're swearing that the testimony you're about to give is the truth.
Yes.
Thank you.
If spells name.
Can you spell your name, please, for the record?
Oh,
Sure. Joshua, Joshua. Last name is Lappins, Lapins.
and your business address?
1S450 Summit Avenue, Suite 150, Oak Brook Terrace, Illinois, 60181.
Thank you.
So my understanding from when this was developed is that there is cross-easement parking across the entire development, should it be needed. And that's kind of all I have to say, but.
Okay. All right. You had mentioned that there will not be any use allowed on the property?
Absolutely not. It's against state regulations, and it's something that we monitor closely. And we have signs up in the store, and we, as I said, we have a security guard that monitors, monitors customers entering and leaving the business, and we are very strict about you can't even take the product out of your bag until you get out of your car and you leave the lot.
Okay. I think that's all I have. Yes, that's all I have. Thank you.
Commissioner Yednick.
Mr. Chairman, first request, I guess, is more for staff and an administrative sidebar of, we did not have the slides in our packets, and I was not able to figure out how to maximize those on my screen. So maybe we can try to work on that. I thought I'd bring it up while it's fresh in my mind if I forget to send an email in the morning, so we can see the slides. I know you put together a nice presentation. I wasn't able to take advantage of viewing it. Next question then for staff is, since I guess this might be for Ross or Mallory, or I'm sorry, Marcy, does it make a difference that this shopping center is in Lake County and, most of, or a big portion of Wheeling is in Cook County? Would that make a difference with the distance between dispensaries?
No.
No.
Okay. So crosses county lines. All right. Then for Mr. Leff, just out of curiosity, I was wondering, why are you rebranding the name in Wheeling and not taking your brand forward from Addison?
Oh, good question. And I quickly addressed that in my presentation, but it was easy to miss. So there is another company in Colorado that is unrelated and uses the Mindful name. coincidentally, and we decided 6 months ago that we did not want to run into trademark issues as we expand. So we are currently in the process of rebranding in Addison, and that rebranding will be complete in the next 3 to 6 weeks.
Okay, so
we will be Hatch.
Okay, gotcha. All right. Then the other question I had for you was you had, during your presentation, I couldn't read the slides, like I said, but you made some reference to medical uses and that your on-site employees are maybe medical patients that are using medical marijuana. I thought that those are different facilities, that this is going to be a recreational facility and not a medical facility.
This is purely going to be an adult use facility. The point I was making is in Addison, we did start, our origins are in medical, dispensing medical cannabis. We just added adult use to that location. The way the legislation worked is you are allowed to add adult use to the existing medical facility, and then you got one secondary license to do an adult use facility only. The point I was making is, given our culture of being medically focused and taking sort of extreme pride and passion in helping patients address their symptoms or medical needs with cannabis, and now that we've transitioned to adult use in Addison, what we're seeing is adult use patients want the same level of service and care and guidance, and they don't know a lot about cannabis. And what we found is it's very helpful to have the same level of service for adult use, even though it's not medical. So we're not, we're selling the exact same products. It's just that it's taxed differently, and we believe in offering the same level of service, product knowledge in our adult use facilities as we do in the medical facility.
Okay, I just didn't know if we're stepping over any boundaries since they have to be separate facilities, or maybe they don't. I don't know.
Yeah, no, this is adult use only. We love to do medical up here, but there's only 55 medical licenses across the entire state, and the current plan is not to release any more medical licenses.
Okay, thank you. I think, what was the other question? Oh, and just a comment for myself. I'm pretty familiar with that shopping mall, and I don't have a concern about the parking. I know that the west end of the Target lot never gets filled pretty much. I'm in and out of there pretty regularly. So, yeah, I don't have a concern about the parking. And then I had questions about the right turn in and out, but Mr. Clicker answered those because I did notice during the construction that they took out that right turn in and out, and I have actually personally made left turns into that lot to go to the Binnies and the Target and other shops and try to stay away from the construction on Lake Cook. So it sounds like the right turn in and out will be brought back then. So that's all I had then, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Leff, what's the current status of your licensing now? You said you had a medical, and it sounded, what I got out of it was you can have 2 adult use associated with that?
So we have a current medical, the way the legislation was written in June 2019 is our existing medical facility. We could apply to add adult use to that facility, which we did, and we opened up adult use on top of medical or with our medical in Addison. So that's 1 license. And then we are granted a second license to take within the BLS district, which this location falls within that BLS district, to do an adult use only site. So once we get approval to build and construct this site and we're completed with construction, we still have to get final approvals, final inspections after we have occupancy here from the Illinois Department of Financial and Professional Regulation to get our second adult use license. Again, it's adult use only here. And after they come in and do that final inspection, they will award the adult use only license.
Thank you. And then you will be coming back to the Plan Commission at some point for a appearance review, site plan appearance review?
Yes, we actually submitted, and we are, I believe we're scheduled to be on the next agenda for site plan and appearance.
Okay. All right, any other questions from the commissioners at this point? Ms. Nyes, conditions.
The one condition was prior to the issuance of permits for any changes to the exterior building facade, an application for building appearance review shall be submitted for Plan Commission review.
All right. Then I would entertain a motion to approve docket 2020-34.
So moved.
Second. Commissioner Yednat.
Yes.
Commissioner Sprague is a yes. Commissioner Belanova.
Yes.
Commissioner Berkey.
Yes.
Chairman Johnson.
Yes. And Ms. Nyes will be getting back to you on,
Yeah, I will follow up with you tomorrow on the next steps. So this will require approval from the village board.
and when are they up?
Monday.
It is scheduled to be on the village board meeting on Monday, the 7th.
Well,
Let me check on that.
you're on the fast track.
Yeah, 7th.
Yes, Monday, the 7th, at 6:30. It's a virtual meeting as well.
Very good. Thank you for a great presentation.
Terrific. Thank you for your time, and we look forward to working with you on this, and I guess we'll see you again in a couple weeks. So again,
All
thank
right.
you for your time.
Okay. Oh, we need a motion to close this public hearing?
Yes.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call?
Commissioner Sprague, yes. Commissioner Yednat.
Yes.
Commissioner Belanova.
Yes.
Commissioner Berkey.
Yes.
Chairman Johnson.
Yes. All right. Next up is docket number 2020-20. Text amendments to Title 21 signs of Wheeling Municipal Code. This is a continued public hearing. And welcome back, Mr. Robles.
Thank you, Chairman and Commissioners at home. As Chairman Johnson had said, this is a continuation of the public hearing that we had November 4th, I believe, where staff had introduced Title 21 signs, which is the regulations pertaining to all signs within the Village of Wheeling. Basically, just a real brief summary, it sets out how permanent, temporary, and exempt signs are permitted and enforced within the village. So at the November 4th Plan Commission, again, it was the initial draft was introduced to the commission. Staff also sought input and feedback from the commission on a variety of items to incorporate into the new regulations. The bulk of the items that were discussed were simply to obtain confirmation of what staff had proposed, but there were some additional items that staff received some feedback from the Plan Commission and to follow up on those items for tonight's meeting as they were incorporated into the draft that you have with you for tonight. So the first one is sidewalk signs, which are in our current code as it exists today are prohibited. As staff had presented previously, these sidewalk signs are kind of also referred to as A-frame signs or sandwich board signs. Many of these businesses rely on this type of sign, just kind of to promote daily specials and promotions and what have you. Typically, they can be seen at the entrances to the business. And so, as a result, staff had proposed to allow these as exempt signs for non-residential uses, subject to size and location restrictions. the commission had asked for staff to research kind of the common heights or sign areas that are associated with these sandwich board signs. And based on our research, we found that the most common height is 3.5 feet in height. Correlated with that is the sign area. So most of the sandwich board signs, based on 3.5 feet, had a correlated sign area. There are some sandwich board signs that are a little bit shorter at 3 feet, 2.5 feet, a little bit taller at 4 feet, and obviously their sign area is a direct ratio to the height. So rather than try to fixate on a height as well as a sign area, what staff has proposed is to basically establish the maximum height for a sidewalk sign at 3.5 feet. And that way, that will establish the maximum height, and there's really only so much you can do within that sign area anyway, just given the type of sign it is. So with that, the regulation as it relates to, the proposed regulation as it relates to sidewalk signs is that they get exempt, no permit is required. One sidewalk sign is allowed per business, not to exceed 3.5 feet in height, and must be placed within 5 feet of the building entrance during the hours of operation of the building to which it corresponds, to which it being the sign corresponds, and sidewalk signs should not be permitted in the public right-of-way or sidewalks. That was the other thing that the commission wanted us to add, is just to clarify that they're not allowed on public sidewalks. So we added that clarification in there. So the next one was in regards to electronic message centers and the illumination. So we had staff had proposed some regulations that were based on the International Sign Association's publication, the research that they did regarding on-premise electronic message centers, and based on that, the recommendation was that these EMC signs are not to exceed 0.3 foot candles over the ambient light conditions when measured at a recommended distance, and that recommended distance is based on the size of the EMC sign. So based on the discussion, the Plan Commission had asked for staff to do some field testing to see what the realities were of this proposed illumination requirement. So with that, staff used the Village of Wheeling's electronic message center sign that's located out front in the Village Hall. And based on the test there, the sign panel measures, the sign panel just for the electronic message center measures 21 square feet. So that falls within the range of doing a light measurement at 45 feet away from the sign face. So we took a couple measurements to get an average, and the average ambient light condition was 3.65 foot candles. The maximum light level that we received on the EMC based on the brightest image or slide that was displayed resulted in 3.8 foot candles. So that is within that 0.3 foot candle range, maximum range. If the sign is actually allowed to go a little bit brighter to reach that maximum. But we use that as an example because it's very well visible. Many people drive past it, and we kind of use that to say that's a good indicator of a sign that's within the 0.3 maximum light level range.
Yeah, when we talked about this last time, you said the test would be done on all white screen.
Right.
It would be the brightest you could ever put on.
We weren't able to get the all-white screen because we didn't want to adjust or modify the programming that's already in place from our with our slides that are out there right now. So we have there's a couple slides that rotate through right now, and so what we did is we took the light meeting on the brightest one where it has the brightest light display that fills up the largest part of the slide. So there were other readings we got from other slides that were certainly lower, but we wanted to make sure we got that brightest one. So we didn't want to go and modify the slides that are already preloaded or in program.
Right. I know I'd have to program ours differently to do an all-white page.
Yes. So, but we did make sure that we did get the brightest screen that is currently on display so that we are taking that brightest snapshot.
Is the way it's written up then in the code going to reflect that the brightest slide you have is what we're gonna go by, not a white screen.
Yes, that is how it would be enforced. That's not clearly identified within the code, that it must be measured at the brightest screen.
Okay.
We can, if it's the preference of the Plan Commission, we can add that further clarification into the code for enforcement purposes.
No, I don't think it's necessary. It's just that the last time we talked about it, we were talking about if you had all white, that's what you would look at.
Yeah, and that, if it were at all white, it would definitely jump the number up, the maximum based on the ambient light level that the sign can produce is 3.95 foot candles, and that brightest slide was at 3.8, so there's still room to go brighter if need be.
Okay.
So the next one was related to changeable copy signs. In addition to that, there was discussion about the duration of the display, what images or moving images, what have you, whether that is allowed or not. And per the Plan Commission, staff went through and revised the language. What is provided on the slide here, which you may not see at home, but is in the attached draft sign code, is the regulations as they've been revised to state that the sign display should not change more than once every 10 seconds. As stated before, the 10-second duration right now only applies to video displays. This would apply to any display, whether it's a video or a static image. To address the animation, the way the language has been revised is to say that the display shall only contain static displays. Strobe, flashing, scrolling, sounds, or other attention-getting features are prohibited. And as before, shall be equipped with a sensor, photocell, or similar device to determine the ambient illumination and automatically adjust. And then as I just mentioned, the EMC illumination shall not exceed 3.3 foot candles over ambient light. So that's the revised language as it relates to changeable copy signs, which include electronic message centers in the code. Moving on to exempt signs, as staff presented previously, many of the current exempt signs are based on content-specific regulations, which the village can no longer do based on the Supreme Court ruling. As a result, it was determined, the staff provided different size of signs as samples for the Plan Commission to determine suitable sizes for residential exempt signs and non-residential exempt signs. And so those values have now been inputted into the draft sign code, so that residential exempt signs are allowed to be 6 square feet and 6 feet in height, and non-residential exempt signage could be 32 square feet and 12 feet in height. And again, that's just to update the Plan Commission based on what was provided previously. Rounding it out, as mentioned before, a text version of the draft text amendments were provided at the previous meeting, while staff finalized all the code language based on Plan Commission input. But we had presented at that time that the final version of the draft code would depart from a standard code format and go to a more visual as well as a change in function of code language, so that the code language is now more easy to read, aims to improve ease of use. And so, as you may have noticed within the draft sign code, each page has a header block which will identify what type of signage you're in, whether it's a wall-mounted sign, a ground sign, exempt sign, general regulations. Staff further went into color code the various types of signs. So anything that's just kind of general administration and enforcement, permitting requirements, things of those nature are blue header. Commercial signage is kind of this reddish orange, and residential is kind of the teal color. So users of the code can quickly reference and identify where they are if they're looking at residential, commercial, or just general regulations. Kind of to further reinforce that, staff has put some symbol, whether it's a C that stands for kind of commercial signage or non-residential signage in the upper right-hand corner. R would represent residential. So again, another quick reference of where the user is within the code. We've provided a kind of at-glance definition of terms so that the user doesn't have to go back to the beginning of the code or the end of the code to try to find terms. These terms kind of change based on where the reader is within the code. So wall-mounted signs, the definitions are going to relate to wall-type signs, ground signs related to that. So they kind of change. We've obviously provided a full list of definitions within the code as well. And each one of these tabs on the definitions will have a link to the full list of terms for the user to quickly jump to that. At the beginning of each relevant chapter, it also indicates how the chapter is broken into different sections, and those will include links where you can quickly jump straight to a wall sign or an awning or canopy, so that it just allows the user to go through that code a lot more quickly. So our aim here is to include all the regulations related to a specific sign type in a condensed form, rather than having the user having to jump back and forth between various chapters or sections within the code, to put all the relevant regulations that apply to a wall sign, for example, all together with images, illustrations, all the code language, so that it is straightforward and it doesn't require the user to have to read through the entire sign code. They can simply jump to the section they want. So with that, staff is seeking a recommendation from the Plan Commission to recommend approval of the proposed text amendments. With that, I'm available for any questions.
Commissioner Yednick.
Oh, I had a lot. So you started with me. First off, thanks, Mr. Robles. I like the formatting. I'm hoping that will carry forward to some of our other code. I have a lot of clarifications, and so when I'm looking at when I make a page number reference, I'm referencing the page number of the PDF that I'm looking at. I don't know if there's different page numbers on the actual code. So I wanted to jump into the EMC signs first, or the changeable text signs. The way you just described it, it sounds like the gas station could post somebody out there to switch the letters every 10 minutes or every 10 seconds if they wanted to. I know that's probably not going to realistically happen. First one, though, on the sign image, the way we're describing that the sign display shall change no more than once every 10 seconds. I made a comment on this last time. It's still confusing the way that's worded with the negative, and I was going to suggest to reword that to each sign image must display for at least 10 seconds before the sign changes to a new image. I don't know if anybody else would agree with me, but when you're using a negative phrasing, it's harder to comprehend. So that's one suggestion I would make for the final draft. Also, when I was going through, I noticed that the wall signs, like above the roof line, so that's completely restricted. And I was just wondering, what if somebody wanted to do some kind of like an old style movie theater or an art house movie theater where they used to have those tall signs that would go up? Would that be allowed, or would that have to be an exception? They'd have to get a variance?
They would have to get a variance if they were to do that type of signage. That kind of old style, kind of theater or cinema type sign we would refer to that now in the new code as a blade sign, which would not allow it to extend above the roof line. That is a scenario where a property owner or business could seek a variance if there was a unique building or a unique use that kind of design fit within that specific building, but may not, kind of universally through the rest of the village.
All right, yeah, I kind of have my personal preference is like a retro style, and I would hate to rule those out completely 100%. Then on page 15, there was a reference to temporary signs where it says it's limiting to one, but I'm looking at, like, on construction projects, I mean, even our own construction project which was the one that I was looking at? Oh, the fire station. We've got 4 signs out there on that fence that it talks about the architect, the name of the project, the village sign. How are those defined as one? Is that one sign? I'm just saying we might be restricting ourselves to an application that's currently in use.
Yes, so the way it would apply is that there would be one sign per street frontage. So if it's a corner property, you'd be allowed to put up 2 signs up to a maximum of 32 square feet. It would be up to the property owner, again, or business, whatever, to divide up that 32 square feet in a way that they wanted. If there were 4 businesses that they wanted to advertise, they would divide that up 4 times amongst the 32 to display all those businesses. The way the current temp sign code works right now is it provides additional liberties to construction sites that are content regulated that we have to, again, get back away from.
Okay, so when I'm looking at the fire station and they're mentioning the village, the architect, the construction, the contractor, that's not considered, that is considered one sign even though it's 3 to 4 different entities?
Right, we are not determining the quantity of signage based on what's on it. We're determining if it's 3 separate banners, if you will, then we would review it and say you're only allowed 1 sign at 32 square feet. If they had 3 banners and they were still under the 32 square feet, we would most likely say you're meeting the intent of the code because you're still within the limitations of the sign area, the maximum sign area.
Okay, well, that was confusing to me because, like I say, on most of the big, even like on Wheeling and the project across the street, there's multiple entities that are signed. I don't know if we would want to consider clearing that up so that my reading was that it was just one. And then I saw the same kind of reference on page 16. I don't know if we would want to clear that up. Then on page 15, also on bullet point A4, it says uses receiving occupancy. I had no idea what that phrase meant.
Yes, this is for once the project is built, they're no longer advertising it for construction, but now they may want to advertise it for leasing. They're seeking the occupancy, so now they're able to advertise for occupancy. So it's a way, try to find some, lack of a better term, clever ways to work within the Reed-Gilbert Supreme Court decision and trying to find conditions that relate to the property rather than conditions related to the signage.
Well, it's just that phrasing itself. Would that be understood by the public or anybody else that would be wanting to put this sign code to use? Because when I read it, I had no idea what we were trying to say there.
Yeah, we could see about coming up with the definition or maybe clarifying that title.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then that was also on page 16 too. There was the same
Correct.
wording. On page 17, and I brought this up last time, when we're saying it's on page 17, A7. Any sign inside a building not attached to a window or door which is not located and intended to be visible. That really should say not located
Yes.
and not intended. We need the 2 nots there, or you can even just change it to say not intended to be visible, because if it's in the building, it's probably not going to be intended to be visible.
Yes, I apologize for that. That has been updated, but when we constructed the graphic format of this, there was some change. We unfortunately used a previous version, so that didn't give those kind of corrections that were brought up last time have been made into the final code. It just when we built this one, we used a previous version. So
well, on page 16 B7, you got the same not.
correct. Yeah, that's exactly yes. Those have been corrected. Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Then on page 17A10, talks about the sidewalk signs, and I thought when we talked about it at the last meeting that we were going to have language that said they would be restricted to only the business hours, that they would have to come in and out at night, and that's not mentioned here.
For the sidewalk signs,
Correct.
they have to be displayed during the hours of operation.
But I don't see that in this. It says sidewalk sign, one sidewalk sign may not exceed 3.5 feet, placement of 5 feet. Oh, never mind, it does say
Yeah,
during hours
okay,
of operation.
okay.
My bad.
That's okay.
I misread that one. Page 17, I thought the feather signs, did we need to define those somewhere? Did we cover that?
Those are, yes, those are included. They are, we have defined in the definitions. It does not appear that carried over into the definitions quick tab, so I will. I'm sorry. Those signs are temporary signs and not exempt signs. So they are in the temporary sign section. If you look at page 15. For temporary signs for commercial.
Feathers, okay.
Yes.
But that's not considered, 17 is also talks about temporary signs?
17 is exempt signs, so those do not require a permit.
Okay, now I understand. I thought the feather signs were going to be exempt, but there's a distinction between exempt permanent and exempt temporary then.
Yes.
Is that correct? Okay, all right.
Exempt signs could be permanent. Temporary signs, however, are going to require a temporary permit. So, if a business wanted to put up a promotional temporary sign and use a feather sign, then they would have to apply for a temporary sign permit to make it. So we would review it to make sure it's in the right location on private property, as well as not exceeding 10 feet in height.
Didn't we also have a limit on the height of the feather sign?
Yes, 10 feet.
That's in there somewhere?
Yes, that is, trying to find where we put that.
2D.
D?
2D.
2D, yes, materials.
Okay.
Inflatables and feather signs not to exceed 10 feet, yeah.
All right, and while we're on feather then, from a practical standpoint, because I know the new Mandalane apartments, and I'm trying to think where else I've seen feather signs that are currently not allowed, but they're all over the village right now. Mandalane.
Kiki's Cafe.
Yes.
Half a dozen of them. Do we want to, this is a throw out to everybody on the plan commission, do we want to consider a limitation on the number? I think that Mandalane's got their whole front of their property line papered with feather signs right now.
So there is a proposed limit. If you look at 2A, it's one sign per street frontage. So again, if it's a corner property, they'd be allowed two signs. But if it's a property that only has a singular frontage, then they would only be permitted one sign. And if they want to do a feather sign, then it would just be one feather sign.
All right, then we need to have somebody go talk to the building manager over there. And I'm trying to remember the other one that I just saw recently was somebody was posting a bunch of, there were 2 or 3 now open or something.
Yes. Yeah.
It was the new 7-Eleven. That's the other one that's got about 3 or 4 feather signs out in front on Dundee and 83.
Yeah, with COVID and the pandemic, we've kind of relaxed enforcement on temporary signage just to provide additional flexibilities for the businesses to try to promote either carry out or indoor dining or now open, and we felt that was a more appropriate approach than just given the tough times that everyone's facing to be a bit more lenient on the temporary signs. And once things get back to normalcy, hopefully that's soon. Then we will begin to start more stricter enforcement with our temporary signs.
Well, I would wonder that if we're going to allow the feather signs, and they would have to get a temporary permit, and it's going to be limited, instead of street frontage, would we want to reconsider length of street frontage? Because like I say, Vanda Apartments right now has 4 or 5 or something. I haven't counted them. I know they have quite a few, but they do have a pretty lengthy street frontage. So I could see where if they wanted to say, put one at one corner of the start of their property and another one at the other one, I think their signs say now leasing. One of them sitting out there maybe not is going to have the effect that they're trying to affect. I don't know if what the rest of the commissioners would feel about changing street frontage to, a measurement of the length of the street frontage.
Yeah, we could certainly consider that and use similar to what the ground signs, the permanent ground signs includes, which does say you're allowed one per frontage, but if you have a large frontage, then that measures, I believe, 400 or 500 feet, then you're allowed a second one. We can apply a similar principle to the temporary sign, but just bear in mind this would apply to all non-residential signs, temporary signs. So beyond just feather type signs, any other banner, whatever, it would apply to all the temporary sign types that a non-residential property would be able to install. But we can, pending the rest of the plan commission, we can explore.
Well, how would the apartment complex be considered? Is that residential or is it non-residential because it's
that would be residential.
Okay. And what would they be allowed then as far as feather signs under the new code?
For residential, they are allowed, let's see here. So they would have to have either an active building permit or, occupancy. They would also fall under the exempt signs for the, quote-unquote real estate sign. If they have space for lease, if it's an apartment complex and they have apartments for rent or for lease, they would be able to utilize the exempt sign requirements for real estate signs or what we used to call a real estate sign.
Well, okay, because I could see the intent of them saying that they have space available and I don't want to limit them, but at the same time, they've kind of papered the whole block. They've exceeded it. So I don't know what would be the best way to approach kind of controlling what they currently have right now. I don't have an answer myself. I just know that they've got a lot of stuff out there. Not only do they have the feather signs, but I think they've got some of those, ones that you go get at the metal frames with the plastic signs that are about 2 by 2 feet. They've got the whole street frontage papered with signs right now.
Yeah, and some of the apartment complexes are going to, push the envelope for what kind of temporary signs they could have, and that's a matter of, enforcement and making sure that that the property and the management company is following the same regulations that the remainder of the apartment complexes we need to comply with.
Okay. Then on page 18, I think it was B2, where you're saying commercial sign, 1 sign per street frontage. I was just curious about that because in the last discussion when you were going through this, and mostly it was, I guess, with maybe residential, like on somebody's front lawn, you were saying that with the new Supreme Court case that we couldn't limit the number, but are we able to limit the number here? I guess just wanted clarification on that. The
number of signage, so that kind of the time, place, and manner in which signs are allowed, a municipality can regulate. What you can't regulate is allowing various sign types based on the type of sign it is or the content of the sign. You also are allowed to delineate between commercial speech and non-commercial speech. And you can create additional signage for non-commercial speech because you're not infringing on freedom of speech. The commercial sign, the requirement that you pointed out is for those properties. Let's say they're getting a new roof or new garage door put on, and the contractor that's providing the service just puts a sign out and says roof done by ABC Roofs, whatever that may be, just so that that allows the contractor that's providing the service at that home to do real quick marketing in the neighborhood if they're also interested in the roof to see who that is. So those are fairly common in residential areas, and that's what that's for. That would fall within that commercial sign. And And what you notice is that the commercial sign size isn't any bigger or any smaller than the non-commercial sign.
Okay, so in that case, they could have one that they're saying they're having a roofing done, but they could also have a campaign sign and a happy birthday John sign, and those are all different. That's not within the one limit.
That
would correct?
That would not be the one limit as it relates to commercial speech signs. Correct.
Okay, but then the other question, I guess, then, and this is, I think, as I'm talking about it, I remember this. Let's say somebody was having a roof, siding, and new windows. Do all the contractors just have to arm wrestle on who gets to put the sign up, or is that going to be an enforcement issue then?
Technically, the code would allow one commercial sign at 6 square feet. So, it depends on how quickly if the work's done in a day, by the time we get out there and see it and start, put a request in to remove it, it'll probably be removed by then. Where the problem is going to, exist is on a substantial, addition or renovation or, tear down, rebuild type scenario where it's a longer project. Most roof repairs or re-roofs happen in a day or two, and then they're gone. So it's for those real quick types of repairs. If you're, again, talking major construction, most likely they're going to have a construction fence up, and then we get into the construction type signage.
There's one on Valley Stream that I passed that's been out there for about 2 weeks now. I forget what they're doing, roofing or siding or something. I had another question about one sign per street frontage. You clarified that. So if you had to have 2 street frontages, that's separate. On page 19E, then, let's see, it was, so prohibited signs, we had talked about that you were going to allow, I thought we allowed before the clown signs, or we're going to allow the clown signs like at car dealerships, but now this would imply that we are not going to allow them anymore, which I'm fine with that. I don't care for those signs that much, but I just want to clarify that we are not allowing those air signs that are flapping in the wind.
Right. We would allow for the inflatable signs, but I don't think we would consider those inflatable because they're not actually holding air. It's just air passing through. It's kind of the semantics of it, but.
What I'm reading on this bullet point, though, that signs that change physical position or the visual impression of movement are not allowed. So that would tell me that the air signs are not allowed, which I'm okay with. Correct.
What I'm saying, though, is that, as I was saying, is that the inflatables are not the same as the wavy guy, the wavy guy sign.
The wavy guy.
Yeah, those are not the same. We would not consider the waving, moving guy, an inflatable. We would refer to it as a sign that's changing physical positions or moving, so it would not be allowed.
Inflatable, yeah, okay, an inflatable, like the union signs when they're saying somebody's got the.
Correct.
Those are stationary inflatables, but we're not allowing the wavy guy.
Correct.
Okay, that's fine then. And I think there was just a typo. My last point was on page 20A. Procedure was misspelled.
Oh, yes, sure is. Okay.
And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you. Commissioner Berkey.
I don't know how to follow that act. But I did have one thing. I thought I remember there was some talk about regarding the fine for violators. If there was any sort of warning letter that we are going to send out. I didn't see anything in writing on that.
Right, we did not amend that particular section regarding fines. Although that's a procedural thing, we wanted the code to read a little firm so that it gives people a pause to decide whether or not they really truly want to deviate from our code intentionally. So we wanted to be a little firm there to make people have to really stop and think, do I really want to put myself in a position to be subject to a $1,000 fine? So that's why we kept it a little firm, as I stated before, and continue procedurally. What we always strive to do is achieve compliance first in the easiest and fastest way possible that works for the business as well as achieves code compliance, and that's the same approach we will continue to take. But that we have to accommodate for the situations that, on the counter side of it, if it says, hey, you may get a letter, you maybe get a $50 fine, that's not really strong wording for somebody to, I think that may be, somebody would say, I'm willing to take that risk. And we want to make sure that they really read it and question whether or not they really want to go against the code.
Okay. That's all I got. Thank you.
Commissioner Blanova.
Thank you. I think all possible concerns that I had were addressed. That's all I had. Thank you.
Commissioner Sprague.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have no questions. Just Steve, you guys did an excellent job on the layout, and thank you very much. That's all I have.
Thank you.
All right, my turn. Yes, it's a great looking piece of documentation. Marcy, did you pass that along, my comments from the other day?
I
Yes.
did.
Yes.
The any and such, and on the removal of, or fixing the facades?
Why don't you,
Okay.
Actually, yeah, that one, go over with him again.
21.2B,
that is admin enforcement, B, the permits.
where am I? I'm still at 21.4.
Oh, where the, yes, I think we changed that to, there was the issue of it kind of included landscaping and facade together.
No, this was, confirmed that the wall facade has been repaired and stains removed from the previous sign installation. And I said, well, that's implying that there was a previous sign.
Yes.
So if you would just change that to any previous installation,
Okay.
that would give them, and in that same paragraph, related to the same thing, any such needed repairs or any such facade repairs shall be completed prior to.
Okay.
And going back to the sidewalk sign, where was that?
That was exempt signs, so that's going to be 17, page 17.
Just thought the wording on that was a little odd. One sidewalk sign not to exceed blah, 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 but they aren't allowed on sidewalks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I made a note of that too. We're going to add the word public sidewalk, so that,
Okay.
so that it's clear that that can't be on a public sidewalk.
So that would mean if it's in town center, that's not considered a public sidewalk then?
Correct.
Okay. Did you still have something in there about the window outlining,
That's still prohibited, we kept that in there as prohibited.
even though we have some in town?
Yes, so we will follow through with those.
And with the EMC signs now, going back to what I've said in the past, to me, 10 seconds is a long time. You can drive from Wolf Road to the village sign and you wouldn't see anything change. And if there's only 2 words on the sign, that's just seems
Sure.
like it's too long. So I would like to see that shortened, but if that's the standard,
it's not to say that there are less standards. I'm willing to bet that there are towns that allow slides to, or images to be displayed in less time. I think what what part of the discussion should be is what we feel is appropriate here in Wheeling for any type of electronic sign, whether it's on Dundee or Milwaukee or Elmhurst, whatever that may be, so.
Because I'm sure most of them are probably shorter than 10 seconds, probably even the village sign.
Right, and I would agree with that because right now, the 10-second minimum time only applies to video displays. And there's really, in our current code, there isn't a standard for static displays, so if you're just displaying text, there technically isn't any maximum or minimum.
Well, can we leave it as just on the video?
Well, video's not allowed per the proposed.
Okay.
We've had that discussion. We can leave it and not establish a time frame, but we could run into a scenario where somebody's going through those sign displays very quickly.
Well, then make it more of the other end, it has to be at least 2 seconds or 3 seconds,
Can we poll the commission on that?
Yeah, we
What
can.
about like text only?
What about what?
If you made it for text only?
Well, that's getting into a content
And that's,
item there.
and that's pretty much what a static display is text only.
But I think what Commissioner Sprague may have been alluding to is that if it's text only, it could be shorter rather than video.
Right.
It's less distracting. But again, if we say text is allowed to be 5 seconds and video must be 10, that's a content specific
But I thought right now we're not allowing video.
Or images, I guess a static image.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, the proposed code currently prohibits movement, any kind of video image, which we could pull the plan commission on. I know we had discussions, and I think it was maybe a tie decision on the movement.
Yeah, I think it was.
There wasn't a, final.
What does this regulate regarding transitions between?
So technically you wouldn't be able to do transitions, because that's a form of movement.
But you took the word transitions out.
We didn't.
Which I appreciated.
We didn't add that in there, we just simply said that it can only contain static displays.
Well, how do you get from one slide to another without some kind of movement?
One goes off, the next one goes on.
Okay,
Yeah, but-
Not very fancy.
yeah.
And it takes all the creativity for the sign programmer.
I don't think, whether the sign dissolves or transitions to one is really problematic. I think you have seen them where maybe they spin, they go from the sign and they spin into oblivion, and then they spin, those are distracting. And then I think that's where we can draw the line and say that's movement. But if it's a soft dissolve from one to the other, I don't think that's really causing a problem.
The village has one that
Yes.
does a sweep.
Yes, we did notice that when we were doing the test, so.
I would like to, if we're going to change this, I would like to propose that we do a vote and just not the loudest voice gets the change. As I've stated many times, I am opposed to electronic message signs. I don't mind getting voted out, but I don't want to make it more lenient just because I know Mr. Chairman Johnson would prefer that because he wants to program his sign across the street.
Well, it's not my sign. I'm just saying if these signs have a lot of capability to them,
And I am opposed to the capabilities, I guess, basically.
and I agree with the sign that you're referring to.
No, in general, I think just the swipes and you got to draw the line somewhere. If I get outvoted, that's fine. I just don't want to just say, let's change it because one or two people are saying this. But, if we want to say, this is what we would like to propose, then let's hammer that wording out and vote on it.
So I think it's 10 seconds too long or not, is kind of the.
Well,
That was the first thing.
If there's 4 lines of text, then no. 10 seconds is required. But if it's 2 words, open house, you know,
Yeah.
10 seconds
That's a long
is a
time.
long time. So, but then you're going into content of the sign.
Yeah, you know, it's one of those things where it's if we're going to establish a minimum time frame in which a, you know, EMC display needs to be displayed, you know, that's, yeah, across the board, no matter if it's 4 lines, 2 lines, or whatever.
I know the person who does most of the programming on that sign sets it for 4 or 5 seconds. And then, that's just how they got used to doing it.
Yeah, yeah,
And sometimes that's too long.
yeah. I think the village hall is currently set at 8 seconds. Currently.
So, do we need to take a poll on the timing, or do we just let it go at 10 seconds?
Might as well take a poll.
I think we
to
should
see.
take a poll just to make sure that we're all on the same page in terms of what we want to establish as a minimum.
Okay. Commissioner Berkey,
I'm good with 10 seconds.
Commissioner Sprague,
I'm good with, changing it to a smaller amount, maybe, 5 seconds.
Commissioner Yadnik,
Stay with 10 seconds.
and Commissioner Blanova.
May we give an option?
Well, right now we have 10 and as low as 5.
Okay with that.
You're okay with what?
From 5 to 10. That's what they can afford. I mean,
We're not going to get anywhere with this. I mean,
I guess the question is, Commissioner Blanova, are you okay, do you want it to be 10 seconds, or are you okay with something less than 10 seconds?
I'm okay with less than 10.
Okay.
so it's still really a split. I mean,
Well,
No.
Your vote would be
Your
the tiebreaker.
vote.
well, I would go for 5 is probably too little. So I would go somewhere in between 7 or 8.
well, if we do 8, we won't have to modify the village.
Yeah, then that guy doesn't have to do any work.
Right.
We split the difference then. Go with 8. Go with 8.
8.
That's my proposal.
Everybody good with 8?
Yes.
Yes.
8 is good.
All right, 8 it is.
What about static? That was the other question.
Yes, yeah. So the question is to only allow static images or to allow some animation? And then if the majority is okay with some animation, we can continue to discuss what limitations would be around animation.
It's defining animation that
Yeah.
we're gonna get hung up on here, because
Yeah.
I think it's just more of whether or not we should even go through that exercise or not of defining animation.
I mean, if we don't define it,
No, I think we need to define it. I'm saying if the majority of the commission is okay with static, then we don't need to.
Then we don't need to go through that.
well,
second exercise.
but define static, you still have transition. If it's just gonna be turned off and you turn the next one on,
That's static.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, it
that's-
just
yeah, then-
flips to screen.
then I say no to that one, because, and the village says no to that one, because that's not how theirs is working. I mean, a basic transition, I don't consider that animation. The one where you're talking about where the whole thing swirls, yeah, that's a little over the top.
Sure.
But where do you draw the line?
Yes, that's a very good question.
You know, a sweep right and the next one slides in, that's a simple transition. Or the one where it just glitters off and glitters, you know, the next one glitters on.
But why don't you poll like Mallory said and just say yes or no on static, and then we can get into what we mean by not static.
Okay. Commissioner Berkey, just trying to figure out how to
Static or allowing some animation?
Okay, static,
Only or,
or allowing some very basic transitions.
Allowing some basic animation.
Commissioner Sprague,
Allowing.
Commissioner Yednick,
Adding.
Commissioner Blanova,
Allowing.
and I say allowing some basic.
Okay. All we could do is try to craft some language right here on the spot, or
That's,
maybe something that we have to come back with and.
I hate to have to come back again.
Oh, yeah, but we want to make sure we get it right, and I don't want to, try to craft code right on the
I
spot.
think the gist of what people want to allow is a screen swipe transition, whether that comes left to right, right to left, top to bottom, but not an animated transition.
Right.
People can understand screen swipes as opposed to like Commissioner or Chairman Johnson talked about, where something shrinks down into a little bit dot and then it explodes into a new image.
Yeah.
That's like you're saying that's not allowed, but a screen swipe would be a transition from one screen to the next.
Sure.
I'm seeing if I can see if PowerPoint has good descriptive words for us to, like if there's those key terms that, let's see. Transitions?
Are we done with this part? Or-
Well, I think we want to figure out the code.
Okay.
specific code.
Yeah, I mean, if we can crack it here.
So I think some words that might be good, Steve, are basic transitions such as cuts, fades, pushes, wipes, swipes, I guess.
Probably dissolve.
Yeah,
Dissolve.
Okay.
Probably each sign software company has their own terms, but
Yeah, I'm just looking at like a PowerPoint transition, like the words in the PowerPoint
Yeah,
transitions,
okay.
because those are ones that are commonly
yeah, right,
used.
because,
Reveal, is that one that's too distracting?
I think
So
that
like
one becomes more
photography,
graphic.
Yeah, I think reveal could be kind of taken to
Okay,
be pretty liberal.
all right, then we won't do that one. Those are all the ones, cut, fade, push, wipe, split,
Split.
dissolve. The other ones look like they're all pretty described. The rest of them are all crazy.
And we would not consider those to be quote-unquote animation.
right, they would be considered transitions.
Okay. So we could say, should only contain static displays, transitions between displays,
Maybe a basic
basic transition,
transitions between
basic transition
displays.
between displays, may include cuts, fades, push, split, swipes, dissolve.
I'm reading a Google definition of dissolve in editing. It says, a dissolve, sometimes called a lap dissolve, is a gradual transition from one image to another. The terms fade out, also called fade to black and fade in, are used to describe a transition to and from a blank image. I think that's kind of what we're talking about, isn't it?
Yep.
We can just say, I like gradual transition.
Yeah.
We could say,
Gradual transition from one image to another.
yeah,
Or
gradual
fade
transition
down.
between displays, but not to include animation or video.
Correct.
Maybe no bursts or spirals.
Including but not limited to.
This will be the longest paragraph in the code.
Burst spirals or similar effects.
Should have taken a break after that.
Yeah, we should have.
Absolutely. We should.
You know, this is taking longer than a cannabis thing.
Okay, no, I think we got it. I think we got it. Gradual transition between displays may be permitted, but not to include animation or video, which includes but not limited to burst spirals or similar effects.
Sounds good to me.
Perfect. Okay.
So I had one other, on the blade signs.
Blade signs, okay.
Where are they at?
They're wall-mounted signs. They're going to be on page 14.
Yeah, the graphic there where it just says linear foot, what's that referring to?
For the awning signs, so the awnings, the allowable sign area for awning is going to be based on the linear foot of the awning. So depending on how big the awning is, it's going to directly correlate with how big the sign is. So it's not going to be based on building facade frontage like it currently is. It's going to be based on the awning itself.
Okay.
Which is going to have two effects. It's going to reduce the size of the awnings, and it's also going to reduce the amount of signage that is on an awning. Because again, awnings aren't intended to serve as a primary wall sign.
Okay. I'm fine. All right. Anything else on the sign code? Nope, nope, nope. And of course, we have no further public comments because nobody's here, nobody's on the line, and everyone else went to bed.
Yes.
So, motion to approve with the changes that we've hammered out here tonight?
Is this final approval or just a draft? So this is,
It's final for us, it goes to the board.
okay, all right. Second.
Commissioner Sprague is a yes. Commissioner Yednak,
Yes.
Commissioner Blanova,
Yes.
Commissioner Berkey,
Yes.
Chairman Johnson.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, commissioners, appreciate the input and feedback. Look forward to the new sign code very soon.
I know you're washing your hands of it now. He's sanitizing his
Ceremony washing
hands,
of the
he's
hands.
done.
Oh, no, we get to go to the board next.
Okay,
Thank you.
we need a motion to close docket 2020.
So moved.
Second.
And a roll call.
Commissioner Sprague is a yes. Commissioner Blanova,
Yes.
Commissioner Berkey,
Yes.
Commissioner Yednak,
Yes.
Chairman Johnson.
Yes. Okay, approval of minutes from our November 18th, 2020 meeting. Do I hear a motion? I heard a motion.
Who's that?
Somebody move again. Somebody make a motion again, because I didn't hear it.
So moved.
Second.
All right, Blanova and Yednek.
Got it. Commissioner Blanova,
Yes.
Commissioner Yednak,
Yes.
Commissioner Berkey,
Yes.
Commissioner Sprague is a yes. Chairman Johnson.
Yes. Other business.
Forgot.
Commissioner Blanova, any other business?
I have nothing.
Commissioner Yadnik.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I wanted to take a moment to address the resignation of Commissioner Jeff Creech, which happened after the last meeting. I have a personal statement and a proposal that I want to make. First, I wanted to publicly say I was very disappointed to learn that Commissioner Creech had resigned. As our viewers may or may not know, after the last meeting adjourned, Commissioner Creech was aggressively confronted by one of that meeting's petitioners regarding their testimony during the meeting. During the confrontation, both sides exchanged some harsh words, but the confrontation was over in a matter of minutes. The Friday after the meeting, the rest of the commission learned via an email from the village manager that a discussion was held between village staff who were at the meeting and village president Pat Horker. After the discussion, President Horker met with Commissioner Creech, and subsequently Commissioner Creech tendered his resignation. As far as I know, other members of the commission were not consulted regarding what we witnessed at the commission meeting. I know I wasn't asked anything about it. After I received the email from the village manager about this development, I promptly responded to him, President Horker, and Plan Commission Chairman Johnson to express my disappointment and urge them to reconsider this decision, and I did not receive any reply. If Commissioner Creech was forced to resign, I want to go on record stating that I feel this decision was rash and short-sighted, and possibly made to appease the petitioner with insufficient consideration given to Commissioner Creech's long history of valuable contributions to the Plan Commission. In my opinion, Commissioner Creech was possibly one of the most valuable members of the commission. He helped me to come up to speed when I first joined the commission, but more importantly, his professional background in construction methods and materials have been extremely beneficial to the commission. The remaining commissioners, including myself, do not have his knowledge and experience, and these qualities cannot be easily replaced. In addition, Commissioner Creech, like the rest of us commissioners, was performing his role as a volunteer to help our village continue to be a desirable place to live and do business. That dedication and devotion should have received more respect and consideration than a decision arrived at in 2 days in response to one isolated incident. His absence from this group will be a detriment to the commission and the village. Which brings me to my proposal. As we are primarily a recommending body to the village board, I'd like to make a motion that before we conclude our meeting tonight, we take a vote among the commissioners to recommend that the village board reinstate Commissioner Creech to the Plan Commission.
Well, we wouldn't be able to vote on anything because it wasn't on the agenda, first of all.
Then I guess I would make a motion that we include it on our next agenda.
Well, you can suggest it, but I don't think.
I think that matter needs to be brought forth to the board.
Yeah, that really needs to
than-
go directly to the board, not, there's nothing we can do.
Yeah.
Well, we're board. I mean, if I don't think any of the other Plan Commission commissioners' opinions were sought after, and I guess we're an advisory board. I'd like to propose that we advise them. I mean, I may be whistling in the dark. It may only be my opinion, but I don't know if any of the other commissioners feel the same and would like to advise the village board to reconsider.
I don't think that would be appropriate because the service of commissioners on the Plan Commission lies solely with the village president. He has the power to appoint and he has the power to remove. I would also state that Commissioner Creech was not removed in this case. He did resign. But that it would not be appropriate for the commission to give input on who sits on the commission because that's the role of the president and the board. He appoints with advice and consent, and that's how it's laid out in the code.
Okay, well then I made my point note, and I learned the logistics of the whole thing then, I guess. Thank you. That's all I have now, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Commissioner Sprague.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I didn't have anything, but I would like to also state that I'm 100% in agreement with Commissioner Yednek, and not all the facts that were stated tonight are true, to my knowledge, and I'll leave it at that. Other than that, I have nothing else. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Berkey, boy, did you pick a great time to start on this.
Hey, that's 3 in a row. It's been really eventful. I'm hopefully number 4. We can go for a quadruple. No, thank you, but I don't have anything else at this time.
All right, and I have no other business to discuss either. So, motion to adjourn. Somebody's beeping.
I lost my audio for a minute. I got an alert saying audio died. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay. And we will need a roll call since we're doing virtual.
Commissioner Yednak.
Yes.
Commissioner Sprague is a yes. Commissioner Villanova.
Yes.
Commissioner Berkey.
Yes.
Chairman Johnson.
Yes. We are adjourned. Thanks, everybody, for hanging in.
Good night.
Thanks.
Good night.
Good night.